Alright, so in today's video we're going to be talking about some of the lessons I learned after recently completing a master's degree. So this is the lessons learned from grad school. I think a lot of times when you ask people this question, it's kind of like, you're asking to get a response like whether or not you should be going to grad school, right? And a lot of times you get an answer that really is not helpful in answering that question. Like, oh, it was like, yeah, it was a good time, or oh, I'm going to help get a job. It's like, alright, that doesn't really help me answer if this is something I want to do for myself. And so, if nothing else, the point of this video is that you should walk away with what were my lessons I learned from going to grad school, and then you should take this video and say help this to make a better decision for yourself. If nothing else, I hope you enjoy the gameplay. And so, yeah, a little bit about my story going to grad school. So in undergrad, there was a lot going on. I went to a kind of crazy undergrad, and going to grad school was never really on my radar per se. Never really had any aspiration to go to grad school. Kind of assumed, I would finish undergrad and then, join my normal job. And then, I believe after I finished my junior year, I got an email from my department. I studied industrial engineering for my undergrad. And they basically said, hey, you have the minimum GPA requirement to apply for a scholarship, and then you can use a scholarship, and if you get it, you can, apply to grad school. And so I met with the people in my department, and they kind of walked me through it. And I was very much on the fence at this point. I was like, all right, because again, my GPA was very much on the cusp for what you need to go to grad school, and I was like, I don't know, because it was already borderline for me. I was like, I'm gonna have to improve my GPA moving forward, and also go to work on filling out this application to go to grad school. So that had kind of a tall task in front of me. And I'm someone who's if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna commit to doing it. I'm not gonna be half-assed about it. So I'm gonna really dedicate myself to going to grad school. And again, this was gonna be my senior year of college. I wanted to just hang out, fuck around. And this was kind of very much gonna mitigate that. I was gonna have to lock in and actually put forth effort into getting my GPA as high as possible for my senior year, while also simultaneously applying to grad school. So this was gonna be a lot less time for me to finally have fun and enjoy my senior year that I feel like I deserved. So I really sat on it, and I was like, thank you. I'm gonna go in the summer. I got some stuff to do this summer, and I'm gonna kind of think on this decision, and I'll get back to you guys. And so it's 10. And so boom, I go home to my family, and I'm telling us, hey, I got this opportunity to go to grad school, but I don't really know if I want to do it or not. And they're like, no, what are you talking about? If you, you were one of the few people who were able to get this email. There's probably people who want to go to grad school, and they weren't even in the consideration. They didn't get this email. So you did, so you gotta really take this opportunity and make the most of it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna, return senior year, and I'm gonna really focus on the grad school. And I will say, one of the biggest things that really helped me kind of throughout my senior year is I had a really good support network of faculty and whatnot of people, helping to pull strings for me to get out of stuff, and really just give me enough free time to be able to focus on the application part of grad school. I had people taking me on visits. I was able to just leave school. I toured Dartmouth, I toured UMich, and I was just able to just leave school and I was like, hey, I'm gonna just be gone, I'm gonna miss class between these schools. And I kind of had everyone around me, and the faculty and administration kind of backing me and supporting me doing this. So that also was a huge kind of thing for me, because I was like, all right, these people are really letting me kind of bend the rules to go pursue this thing. So I kind of owe it to these people to put my best foot forward and fucking, do everything I can to get into grad school. So, fast forward, I end up getting to grad school. I get the scholarship, I end up winning. And I get into separate grad schools, so I'm like, boom. I had a decision to make about where to go to school, but then also if I was gonna do this, right? Because this was gonna drastically change kind of my future. I went to a military kind of undergrad, and so there's kind of three kind of costs when you're making a decision, right? There's the time cost, there's the financial cost, and then there's the opportunity cost if you do this thing. So the time cost was all right, I'm gonna be doing this thing for a year and a half, 2 years, that I could be doing, something else. This is very related to the opportunity cost. The financial cost, thankfully for me, I was on scholarship, so I didn't have to pay any money per se. So that was covered for me. But then also there's the opportunity cost. So this is funny, right? I was really like in love with this girl at the time, and I was like, ah, shit. And this is stupid. Like, you're in your 20s, you're like, this is the fucking only thing you're thinking about. You're just trying to chase tail and fuck off with anything else, like, trying to get a job or your future or whatever, right? So I was like, oh man, me and this girl had been like very much on and off, and we just really started getting close again my senior year. And I was like, damn, bro. And some other stuff had happened between us kind of senior year leading into this. But I was really like, man, like I'm scared to go to grad school because I feel like I'm going to like burn, my chance with this person because, I'm going to go off and go do this thing at grad school and they're going to live their life with everyone else. So you get military school, you go to like military training, you go to like after you graduate from undergrad, and then you go off and you go serve in the military at your respective location, right? But kind of everyone goes to like the similar places for their military training once they graduate. So I was like, damn, like, and it's basically like college part 2 for like a year, right? And so all my other classmates, and this is kind of like the opportunity cost, where I was like, man, like all my friends are gonna go to this place, we're gonna all live together, we're gonna get a house. Ooh, shit, uncooked. All right, well, that's official. But yeah, so they're all gonna get this house. We're gonna be hanging out. We're gonna be college part 2. We'll be drinking, fucking around, going to the city. Like, it's gonna be great. And I basically had to like make the decision to potentially give this up to go pursue this grad school. And again, in retrospect, that's like a dumb thing to like, oh, some girl that I talked to on and off. Like, I'm gonna base my decision to go to grad school. But again, like when you're 21, 22 years old, you're like, you're really thinking about this in your decision making, right? Lo and behold, this girl is married now, and obviously not to me. So, there was some genuine, part of it was like, yeah, I'm really about to be, am I throwing away my future relationship with this person to go to grad school, right? And so that's like the opportunity cost of, making the decision. But I am going to grad school. And for me, initially, coming out of high school, I'm from the Midwest. I basically moved across the country by myself to go to college. I didn't know anyone. I knew one person. And I did talk to them about 4 years, still a close friend of mine. But like beyond that, and that's kind of how normal college is. You either live in the same state and you just go to that same, I don't have any, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make a bucket to go get my shit back. Can I get like a wood bucket or no? And this is, no, maybe. Am I cooked? Okay, my items might be cooked from this. All right, that's okay. But no, so like you either live in the same state, right? And you live in that same state, and you go to college in that same state, and so you're still kind of like not as. Dude, I have no iron. What the fuck? Maybe it's up here. So I'm trying to get my shit back. Or you just completely, 180 and you up in yourself and you move across the country. And that's what I ended up doing, right? I completely moved across the country by myself. Didn't see my family for over. Like it was like a whole thing. So I was like, am I really about to do this again? Because then I ended up going to another part of the country for grad school. So I was like, damn, I'm really about to upend myself, move to another part of the country, and do this again. Well, all my friends are going to be living together, getting the house, doing college part 2, and then they're all going to have jobs. Well, I'm kind of rolling the dice on my future with, it just looks the fucking same. Okay. I was like, what the fuck? And so, yeah, that was the decision I had to make, and I made it. And initially, I lived in New York for a summer. I worked there, and that would be a whole separate video because holy shit, was that something. But, yeah. I kind of traveled around the world for a bit, for like a month, and then moved to New York City. Lived by myself for a couple months just for the summer. It was absolutely miserable. It was a fun time, but it was also like very miserable doing that. And then boom, I'm in grad school by myself once again. All my friends are doing college part 2, and I had to go make it happen. And so for my grad school, it was a year and a half. And for the first 6 months, I took one class, it was an econ class, and I was just absolutely, where did I put my shit in? Dude, I have to organize my stuff better. That's probably what I should be doing. So it's, holy shit. I have no food. Okay. And I had one class, I met once a week. And when that class didn't meet, I just sat in this apartment by myself. Thankfully, I had like a very nice apartment. And so I was like kind of chilling in that respect, but I literally had no friends. I was the youngest person in my class by far. I didn't know anyone. So I would just do my homework. I would fucking go to class once a week, and then I would just sit by myself, and I was just miserable. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? There's no way I'm cooked. Okay. And so that was the first 6 months of my grad school experience. And again, I was just like, I was kind of questioning myself. I was like, did I make the right decision? Because I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm just living by myself, taking one class. The class wasn't even all that interesting, too. And that was, like, also the worst part. I was like, I'm not even, ooh, shit. I was just fucking myself. We'll wait for this lava to dissipate. Oh, my God. And then, 6 months later, I actually started my program. I met, the rest of my cohort, and I had a good time. I finished grad school, and I kind of wrote down in my journal as I was reflecting and transitioning back into the military. I'm like, all right, what did I really learn? What were my takeaways from grad school? Like, what did I actually learn? Not like, oh, what subjects did I learn, but like, was this a good decision, and why? Or really like, what were my takeaways from doing this? If I could tell myself again. And so that's kind of just like the prelude to how we got here today and like why we're talking about these things. So my first lesson that I would put is your future self should be thanking your past self, which is your current self. So what does that actually mean? You should always be doing the things today to where in the future you're gonna be like, dang, fuck, I did this. Like, you ever been like taking a test and you're like, damn, bro, like I really wish I would have studied more instead of like staying up playing video games. And that was very much my college experience, especially for the first 2 years, which is why I was in the GPA predicament. Because I often would just spend my time, not necessarily like procrastinating, but just like, I wasn't really using my time effectively. So then I'd put myself in situations where I was like, man, I really wish that in the past, instead of, staying up playing Minecraft at 2 a.m., I was, studying or better preparing for this thing that I'm trying to do. And I quickly nipped it in the bud, kind of going into junior, senior year. And that was definitely something I learned in grad school, especially because my time management was just so much better after doing grad school or doing undergrad. You always want to have your future self thanking your past self, which is your current self's actions. So make sure you're doing things to where like, you know what, I'm going to spend the time now. So then later, like I have time to kind of fuck off and I want, or at least I'm not in the situation where I'm like, damn, bro, I really wish I would have spent more time studying or doing this material. Again, I'm not a school guy. Like there's a lot of things I really dislike about school. So I'm not saying like, oh, you need to study all the time. That should be your life. No, but you should never be putting yourself in a situation where you're like you're having like a short-term regret because you didn't prepare yourself for what it is you need to do. And I kind of overdid this. Like it got to the point where I was so good at doing my work in grad school that all my classmates, I always wanted like, let's go out to the bar, let's go hang out, let's go do something. And I was the only person who ever did their work early. Like my grad school class was just fucking full of procrastinators, full of people who just wanted to wait till the fucking 11th hour to do shit. But then I never got to hang out with people because I'd have to like drag them out to go do shit. 'Cause they did not, their future selves were definitely not thinking their past selves because they were just fucking off. And so then, obviously I was like, all right, this is kind of lame. Like, I'm trying to do shit with you people and you guys can't do your fucking homework on time. But, for me personally, it was like, yeah, I'm not in a situation where I'm kind of fucked because I didn't do what I needed to do. So definitely, yes, you want to make sure you're doing shit now in the present so that your future self is thinking yourself up. The next thing is Army leadership. What is going on with my game? Holy shit. Army leadership is real leadership. So what does this actually mean? I would say planning and coordinating is the backbone of group work. A lot of times people think like leadership is like, all right, I'm going to be the guy who's like, and for whatever reason, like when I think of the word leadership, this picture of like, of Washington crossing Delaware is just like, it's the first thing that pops up in my mind. It's like him on the boat. He's at the front of the boat. He's leading the charge. You got the people rowing and shit. And everyone's very much like following his lead. Like, okay, this is Washington. He's leading the way. Leadership that's like a part of leadership. I wouldn't say I have nothing to do with that. But that's not really what leadership is about. Like when I talk about like what is leadership, you as the leader, you need to bring your people from point A to point B. Like that is what leadership is about. And then I also say you got to execute whatever the task is at point B. So you need to get people from point A to point B. Oh, I even wrote this down. Yeah, leaders bring the team from point A to point B. That is what leadership is about. It's not about being, the loudest in the room. It's not about, you saying, here's how it's going to happen, and then everyone following what you say. Leadership is about bringing the team from point A to point B. So that's just like doing things like coordination. Like the first thing I would do when I, meet people for like a group chat or make people for like a group project or meet the class, you get everyone's name, you get everyone's contact information, you break the ice, and you put people in a group chat. You need to be able to like disseminate information. Like that is the first step. If you're doing that, that's fucking 50% of leadership right there. Because you're like, all right, I got everyone's name, I got everyone's way to contact everyone, and that way when we need to fucking do the task, you're not like trying to find people. Because that was the worst part. It's like, all right, we have homework to do. Because you do a lot of group work in grad school because it prepares you for the real world. And the real world it's all team based, right? So you're doing group work. If you can't fucking find someone and you're like, where is this person at? You're not going to be doing any type of leadership. You're going to be doing some shit by yourself, and that is annoying. So you don't want to do that. So just coordinating, like, all right, here's everyone's name. I got everyone in a group chat, and I'm gonna disseminate information. And I also say, like, people really want to feel included in life. And maybe I just went to a school where everyone was like, again, I was by no means the smartest person at all. And I felt like in a lot of ways I was like dumb as fuck compared to everyone else that was in my fucking class, right? I'm coming from some damn military shit, and I'm with people who were bankers or starting their own companies and like doing all this crazy shit. And I was the guy who's like, I do fucking like PT and shit, right? But a lot of people don't really want to like, step up to the plate and do that coordination and like actually, bring the team to point A to point B. But everyone wants to like help. Like people want to feel like, my contributions matter at the end of the day. So what you got to do is you got to like create situations for people to win. So if people want to help, how the hell do you get them to do that? So I know, some people were like really good at making PowerPoint slides, right? That was their thing. When you're leading, I have to think to myself, how do I make a situation for this person you gotta know like what they're good at, how to make it easier for them to win. Make it easier for them to feel like, hey, I did something, I helped. I feel good about my contribution to this project. So you really wanna make sure that people are like able to, really leverage their strengths and help. That's people really want to do that in the day. Like there is very rarely a time where people are like, oh, I'm not going to help. Because again, those three costs. People put in their opportunity costs, their time, and fucking, I don't even know what the third thing I said was. On their money, right? They put their dollars towards being here in this situation, being in grad school, right? So people are trying to get something out of it. So leveraging their skills so that they feel like, hey, I'm making my time worthwhile at being here. So yeah, you really want to like create those situations for them to win, and then they're going to be helpful. And then obviously you complete the objective. So really, again, leadership is you bring the team from point A to point B, and then you complete the task at point B. Number 3, I'd say, is the value of school is an exposure, not class. And again, this is just me being completely honest, right? You're asking like, what do you learn from going to grad school? There was a couple classes where I was like, you know what, I am very glad I went to this class. There were some classes I later on did like a pretty intense internship. And there was a couple classes that like, yes, they directly translated to like what I was doing in the internship. Most of your classes, you're just fucking sitting there playing fucking chess. I was fucking watching the NBA finals during class. I'm staring at the clock. I'm just like, fuck this, I'm trying to get out of here. That is going to be a lot of your class. And that's just me keeping it 100, right? The exposure of going to grad school is like, I don't want to say like the networking, because that's such a cliche, oh, you got to network. And people do that. You'll see, and I personally, I never did that. I'm a bad networker. I don't do that. I don't really believe in it. Like, I think it's stupid. Like, there's people who are like, oh, let me get on your calendar. Let's go do a coffee chat. Let's go talk. Like, if you're, I guess, trying to get like a job from that person, like, cool. Me personally, I'm like, let's go get drinks. Let's go hang out. Like, that's how you're gonna like meet and connect with people. It's like doing shit and like socializing and like having fun with people. Going out to parties, doing stuff like that, doing group projects with people, like that's actually where you're gonna like get the value add going to grad school. Sitting in class all day has like, yes, like I said, there's a couple classes where like this shit really translated to like what I was actually doing, my real world work. But most of the shit, you're just fucking checking the box. You're looking at PowerPoint slides. And that's not like a fault to my school. It's just kind of how education works nowadays. But you also learn how to like be sufficient. Because again, like I said, I was just living alone for basically 2 years. And I had to figure out like, I got to get myself to work every day. I got to wake up. I got to go to school every day. I got to work out. I got to cook all my own food. I got to get around from point A to point B. I got to like navigate living in a new city. Like, you know, you're going on dates with people. You're basically thrown into the wilderness of like being an adult by yourself. And there's no manual, there's no one telling you like, hey, here's how you do this thing. No, you're just doing it by yourself. And so it really teaches you how to like be an adult very, very quickly. And so you're kind of thrown in the fire to do that. So I definitely think learning that skill of just like saying, hey, I'm out here doing my thing by myself. I'm gonna figure this shit the fuck out, one or another. Super, super helpful. And then the final thing I would say is, what is my formula for success? And the formula for success, I would say, is preparation plus positioning plus execution times luck. So what is preparation? So one, did you prepare for today's mission? Did you prepare for today's task? And this goes back to rule one, you know, your future self should be thinking your past self. Did you do things in the past to set yourself up to be successful? Like, so let's say you have like a presentation, right? Did you rehearse? Did you actually like make the slides and then go over the slides beforehand? Like a lot of times people are like, all right, I made the slides and then boom. That is not enough. You're gonna set yourself up for failure if you're just doing that. You need to make sure like, okay, I have made the slides. I'm gonna look over the slides. I'm gonna practice briefing the slides. Like that is actually preparation. Positioning. A lot of success is just, are you in the right place to succeed? There's too many times you have like an idea or like a project that is really good on paper, but you're just not in the right position, not in the right place, you're not talking to the right person for this idea to actually be successful. And a lot of it is like, you know, trial and error, like trying to figure out like, you know, is this the best place for this idea? And you kind of just have to, you know, again, figure that out. But are you in the correct position to be successful? Execution. You gotta show up, you gotta perform on game day. Like me, sometimes I'm like a bad test taker. So, you know, I'll study, I'll do all the studying, I'll make flashcards, I'll do everything I need to do to prepare to be successful. And then you just show up on the test and you just lay an egg. And that that happens, right? And so you want that to not happen. You wanna make sure that you're studying, you're doing the preparation, you're putting yourself in the best position to succeed. But then when the actual time is to give the presentation, you can't be stuttering. You can't forget your lines. You can't forget the content on the slide. You gotta actually make sure you know what the fuck you're talking about, and you do it well, right? So that's actually the execution of what it is you're doing. And then finally, luck. The final thing is luck. And if you've ever met anyone who's successful, and they're just like, oh, I am completely successful, or this thing went well solely of my own accord, they're fucking lying to you, because that's just not how the world works. Yeah, and I'm not saying that, you know, everyone who's successful is just inherently lucky, or they're only successful because they're lucky, because no. They did the other three things. They prepared, they put themselves in the right position to succeed, and they executed. Yeah, yes. But at the end of the day, you do need like a little luck. You just need things to go your way to be successful in life. And so those are the four things. You know, you need preparation, positioning, and execution. And it's times luck, because you can do all three things right. You can prepare really well, you can position yourself to be successful, and you can execute on game day. And you could just get unlucky. Like your teacher could just be in a shitty mood. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're just a fucking terrible person. I don't know. And you can just get screwed over in life through no fault of your own. And that's just how the world works. And so you got to just understand that and be like, all right, maybe I did everything right and I just got unlucky. And that happens to people. It happens. And that is, again, a natural part of going through life and of going through anything. And so I can say that, yeah, that those were my 4 kind of things that I learned, Your future self should be thanking your past self. Military leadership is real leadership. The value of school is kind of in the exposure and not just in the class. And what are the 4 steps you need to be successful? So, would I go to grad school again? I mean, yeah, definitely I would. Like, it changed my life. I got to do a ton of things. I got to travel. I got to meet new people. And I got, exposure to different things that I definitely would not have gotten otherwise. So, I'm super thankful that it worked out. And now I'm back, in the real world, working again, doing my thing. But there's also, there's some drawbacks. Like I said, all my friends kind of left. They did their own thing. They did the normal route. And a lot of times I felt like I was behind in life. Like, I was like, I'm seeing friends, they're getting promoted, they're doing cool shit. And I was like, I'm still in school every day. And I felt like I was wasting away. I felt like I was making no forward progress towards my goals in life. And it sucked. I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Every single day, I would see people getting after it, really making actual progress towards the things I wanted to do in life. And I was just sitting in class looking at PowerPoints, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? This is so dumb. Did I make the wrong decision? And who knows? I'm definitely happy. I went to grad school. Definitely think it worked out well for me. But, time will tell if this was really was this the correct decision for my life, or did I just waste 2 years? Who knows? But I'm very confident in my decision I made, and I'm happy I made it. And so hopefully, if nothing else, this video will be insightful for you to say, do I want to go to grad school? Do I want to pursue a master's degree? Or do I want to just, roll the dice and, go off into the real world and try to find a job and kind of do the normal route that everyone else does? Well, yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoy. I know this gameplay was just kind of me walking around trying to fucking build this shit. I don't know, maybe I'll just do a voiceover next time and actually have some better gameplay recorded. This modding fact is kind of boring. I've kind of done everything I need to do. So, I'm kind of stagnant now in this world. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.